All right, I think we're ready to get started.
Sounds good.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming to Encouraging Critical Use in AI in Education. We're really excited to have you here. We know that we have teachers as well as some parents, and we are really excited to share with you some information about the current use of AI, but then also study skills and how can we help out our students with their learning. I'm Peg Mishler. I'm the Director of Education and Research for Checkout Learning. I have spent my entire career in education, most recently as a Director of Learning. And Larissa, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Peg. My name is Larissa Black, and I am here as an education consultant and AI literacy coordinator. I've been a STEM teacher for the past, well, more than 17 years. And then also to now, this is my first year where I am the innovation and technology coordinator for South Carolina Connections Academy. So I get to help from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade with AI literacy, ed tech platforms, and all that good stuff. I'm founder of TeachWise AI and one of the co-founders of the fantastic group Edu Guardians.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Our agenda today, so the things that we're going to be talking about and Larissa will be sharing is our AI trends right now among students. How are they using it? What are they using it for? Tips for teachers and parents. Um, Effective integration into classrooms, like some tips for teachers on how to do that. Talking points that you can have with either parents or students or your own children. At the end, we're going to have a full Q&A session. So if you have any questions during this time, just throw it up in the Q&A section at the top of your screen. And we will try to address as many questions as we can prior to ending the call. So to start us off, we do have a poll. We would like you to look in your chat, and you should be able to see all the ways that you use AI in your role. And we want you to just select all of the options that work for you and that resonate with you. So how are you using AI in your role?
I love using polls because I get to see the numbers going up and up and up. I just get excited in my classroom for the same thing. But wow, look at those numbers, creating those materials. That was number one. That's how I started using generative
Mhm.
AI, honestly.
Absolutely. Student plans too, I feel like, especially in the world of special education, 504s, IEPs, I
Mhm.
do know there are a lot of teachers using different AI to help with those student plans as well.
Right, exactly. And my own son has an IEP, and I have used it to give me suggestions of accommodations that might be helpful to him. The one thing I say over and over, and you'll hear me the rest of this time saying it, is just make sure you don't put the student's personal
Oh, yes.
identifiable information in there.
Right.
So I've heard stories. Luckily, nobody I know. But yeah, definitely, it's so helpful for that.
It is. And communication. It is a great, when you're trying to send an email and you don't want to be biased or you don't want to have your mood included in your email, right? So
Yeah.
it's a great way to just communicate, have AI give a quick look over, offer suggestions, revise. Um, Great.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to ask it. Am I being too snarky? Like, you might need to make this nicer. There we go.
All right, on to the next thing. So we know how you guys are using AI. 1,500 students were asked, teenagers were asked, what's the one thing that adults should know about how teens are using AI? And at this time, there was a little over 50% of the students using AI. Now we're at about over 70% of students are using AI. But as you can see here, there's definitely some ways that they're using it that are good. There's ways that as a teacher, I don't want them using it that way. And there's also some scary stuff going on, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard it in the news. And that is why this kind of conversation we are having tonight is so important for students to have with teachers and parents. We definitely don't want to forget the parents because even though we're focusing on teachers tonight, you definitely need to, be guiding from home as well.
Yeah, definitely. And as a parent myself, it has helped me and my sanity with helping some of with my my kids and some of their math homework. And I know like I'm a STEM teacher, but it's been a while since I've done sixth grade math. And I'm like,
Right.
oh man, I need like a little extra help. And there's nothing wrong with using it that way. But yes, you can see on here that there are a couple of red flags, and we're going to talk about those definitely.
So, I mean, students are using AI. We know that 70% of teenagers are using it. Um, and they're using it routinely, right? So what's missing though is the guidance. We need to provide the guidance. And students, as we saw before, are misusing it, but we also want them to use it. It has great opportunities to help them with their learning. It can scaffold learning for them. It can offer support. So it's not something we want to shy away from. We want to be able to teach them how to use it correctly. So these two visuals show on the left-hand side, it's talking about the percent of parents when asked about the awareness of their child and their use of AI. As you can see, about 60% of parents aren't really sure how their students are using AI. And, you know, there's important conversations to be had. And that's why Larissa's here to help us tonight. And then it was also asked of teenagers, how many students had this conversation with their teacher and their teacher is allowing it? There was only 7%, which is alarming because students are, we know they're using it. So we don't have parents necessarily providing guidance, and we necessarily see from the student's perspective, we know how that is. Teachers are also in need of, providing that guidance for students. So it's definitely very critical conversation we're having tonight. And I'm going to hand this over to Larissa because that's who's here tonight to talk. She is absolutely amazing. And I have learned so much from her as an educator and as a parent. So I'm excited to share.
Thank you so much, Peg, and thank you for having me here. I'm excited to talk about this. And Check It Learning does such a good job of being a leader in the AI community. So, yeah, that stronger direction is definitely needed. We need to be the guides, right? The shepherds for our students and our kids to understand how to use this incredibly powerful tool. And when we say AI, artificial intelligence, we're talking specifically right now about generative AI. Came out in November 2022. We all know ChatGPT, that's the big one, but there's so many more, and it is being infused into our daily life. And that's really important because it's not just us as adults, it's the kids as well, that they're seeing it in lots of different places. So we need to be aware, and we need to know how to use it and use our own critical thinking skills. That's one skill that will never go away. We need that more than ever right now. So just understanding how powerful it is. We've seen terrible news about teens using it inappropriately and what the risks can lead to. So that's another part of this conversation is, okay, what are the benefits, but also what are the limitations and the risks? Understanding those risks and having those open conversations about using responsibly is important. Just like when you give your kids the car keys at 15 or 16 years old, whatever state you're in, that is, you're not just being like, yeah, go ahead, have at it, good luck. You are guiding them ahead of time. They usually have to get their permit first, right? They got to take the test. You are, praying in the passenger seat as the first, second time you go down a road that's only 15 miles an hour. So just think of it in that way too, that, okay, we need to guide them like we would teaching them how to drive. Now, AI is changing the way that we live and work. I mean, AI has come into our lives actually a long time. It's been around for a long time, especially in our households with Alexa and Hey Google and whatever else. If you use Google Maps or any kind of GPS system, it uses AI, but that's not the kind of AI we're talking about today. We are talking specifically about generative AI and how that within itself and being able to use that becomes a life skill. And that's a life skill our students are going to need to be able to use. So what do we mean responsible use of AI, and how can that responsible use benefit those students? Now, responsible use means that we're critically thinking about the output, right? That we are making sure that we're not becoming best friends with it. We're not in a relationship with it. We're using it as brainstorming partners, things like that that are appropriate. We're not just copy and pasting. And as teachers, we all know, we've all seen it, especially at the end of an essay when it's like, I hope this was what you would like, and let me know if I can help you anymore. Like that, we're like, okay, I feel like ChatGPT might have been the only one to read this, and me as a teacher. So responsible use, I know that most of you probably have an idea of what that means. But developing life skills, for example, this week I was coaching a special ed teacher, and she has a senior who is about to go out into the world, and he needs a little extra help with budgeting, like meal planning and budgeting, those basic life skills. Well, why not bring an AI tool into it to help him, to lead him, right? Now, I did not suggest ChatGPT. I was like, let's go ahead and use like a school AI space or brisk boost, student boost, where you as the teacher can actually input what you want prompt wise, and make that chatbot very specific so that you can send them the code for that chat and they can chat like they are the user of it. And it asks them questions about, what do you like to eat? How much money do you have for the week? And let's go through step by step. How do we create this meal plan? And it's wonderful because it increases that engagement. So that leads me into another part of increasing engagement with accessibility tools. Like, let's say that a student has dyslexia. There's a font you can change in these like school AI spaces and things like that. And I know I'm talking about school AI, but like there's so many different tools that have these accessibility options within them because AI has made it easier to get these accessibility tools. So if a student needs, for example, a font that is specific for dyslexic kids, no problem. It can change it immediately and they can continue chatting. If you need it to be read aloud to you, no problem. It has that option. If you need to read it and have it type it out for you, no problem. It can do that. If you have students who speak multiple languages, again, they can change it on their end, which is amazing. Like as a teacher, you don't have to change it to the correct language. They can change it in this list of languages. So it's really helpful because as a teacher for close to 20 years, I know that accommodations can make a huge difference. And I see it in my own son with an IEP. It has made a huge difference. And I can tell when accommodations are not being followed because you see that shift. But this builds confidence, resilience, motivation. If the students are able to learn the material in a personalized way, they are more likely to do better, to feel better about school, all that stuff. So AI can be a really helpful tool in this way and benefit students.
And can I
Unleashing,
say
yeah,
also just saving teachers time? I
yes.
mean, knowing how many IEPs and 504s that you are legally responsible for, and you may
Hmm.
have 175 kids throughout the day,
Hmm.
it is really a great tool to help them and give the teachers confidence that they are following those accommodations and modifications.
Yes, definitely. That's a great point, Peg. Exactly. And then other things that you can do with AI is just unleashing that creativity, like using Canva or Adobe Express. The kids who might not be the best artists or might have all these great ideas, they can actually express themselves by text and have it create an image for them. And I'm not the best artist, so I've used it many times for that. So I appreciate it. And then improving study outcomes, obviously, like that personalized learning, that differentiated instruction. It's so much easier to do when you have AI integrated because it's that one-on-one. It's almost like a one-on-one tutor. CK12.org has a little chatbot called Flexi. It is appropriate for school-aged kids. It pulls resources directly from its website. There's less hallucinations because of that. And I have used it myself with helping my kids in different subjects. So wonderful if it's used correctly, right? Now, how to empower critical use and effective self-study. We're going to proactively address key topics. Instead of just saying, you know what, this is dangerous, because it can be. Like, there are times where if ChatGPT is used in certain ways, it can be dangerous. But we need to be guiding students about what those risks are and how to make sure that we're not going to jump into those risks, right? I don't feel like AI bans are helpful. Banning AI completely is not helpful, but using school appropriate and safe COPA FERPA compliant tools, it's a great place to start, because once they get to be 18 and off into the real world, obviously they can use whatever they want.
Right.
And
And
maybe
to the
at home
point
they already
too,
are.
sorry. And one thing too, I just didn't want to forget is like that we know they can ban that, but students are still using AI.
Yes.
And like you, the social media AI that's included in the social media, right? So,
Mhm.
I mean, a band, I mean, is really just there. So maybe the child will have consequences if they break the use, but they're using it.
Yeah,
That's why we can't just ignore it and say it can't be used, because we're kind of turning a blind eye at that point.
exactly. Exactly.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's amazing how like every single social media platform now has got their own version of some kind of AI. And I don't know where they're pulling from, if they're pulling from OpenAI or Gemini or
Right.
Perplexity. Um, so you don't know how much inherent bias is coming through on their end. So yeah, that's a
Mhm.
great point, that they're going to find it, right? They're going to find a way to use it. So let's guide them as to what is the best way to use it. So let's also address limitations though. Like, we talked about bias, right? We talked about false information. Well, students kind of need to be detectives when they're using AI, right? They need to be detectives. So when they get information that has been generated, as they go back and forth with the chatbot, they need to double check that information. And so they're like great researchers. It helps them with critical thinking skills and also with researching. So you need to always give them time to, if you're using AI, double check their work. I know that's what I do. I reread everything, I double check some stuff. I think we talked about some of the videos, like the deep fakes that are out there and all of that, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a second. But fostering openness and just making sure your students and your kids know that you're a safe place to be able to talk about this stuff. I had a student who said, "Oh, I used character.ai, which is not something any student should be using at home," and she had a horrible experience, so she didn't want to use the chatbots I was creating at school. And I was like, I totally understand, and it's great for you to be like, "Oh, I had this bad experience, and now I don't want to play with that," so that you can protect yourself. But I showed her the back end of mine and like how I created it and how there are guardrails on it, that it is safe, that I get to see their entire conversation. So if there's anything that comes up, I get notified and I can call them or the parent or whatever. And again, I'm an online teacher, so that's why I say I call my student like you're not normally going to be calling your students if you're in brick and mortar. So highlighting best practices, providing practical examples of how AI can support research, support brainstorming, and just becoming more creative in general. Like, it is amazing how much more I can get done now than I've ever been able to get done before, and how my ideas like are, I feel like it's gone up a level because I have a chatbot to go back and forth with that will expand my thought process.
And
So
challenge you. Yeah.
yes, yes. And
Hmm.
sometimes you have to ask it to challenge you.
Hmm.
Because let's remember, ChatGPT likes to make you feel happy. Like, oh, you're the best, oh, it's a wonderful
Right.
idea. Sometimes you do have to ask it to like challenge me on this. What are the things I'm not seeing? Where are my blind
Hmm.
spots?
Yep.
But here's the key talking points. We're going to provide this handout to you about these, but let me go over them really quickly. So we've got AI reliability. Hallucinations are an issue. Hallucinations is just lying. They straight out lie. And then information being misrepresented or bias or whatever. And then where are the sources coming from? We want our students to be asking that all the time, because if it's just coming from a Reddit conversation, it's probably not accurate. We want it to be coming from journal articles, from legit like websites that actually do research. Emotional engagement. This is a really big one that, as a parent especially, you want to talk to your kids about. If they become too reliant and too dependent on a chatbot, that's a huge red flag. You do not want that to happen, because that leads to psychosis and a lot of emotional, mental health issues. So remind them, this is a machine. It's a machine. It's not a human. It's telling you what you want to hear sometimes if you have that emotional conversation with them, but it is not a human. It is a machine built just on algorithms, math, and patterns. Maybe they'll be bored by it if I say this, math and patterns. But prompting. Another thing is, a lot of times when I train teachers, they're like, I tried ChatGPT and it just gave me the worst outputs. And I get it. That's where I was at the beginning too. And it's not just the platform has gotten better, but my prompting has gotten better. I know how to prompt it so that it gives me back information that I really do think is great. And I will continue to expand on it. Then deep fakes, realistic alterations. There are now videos and pictures. This can be a huge issue. Peg and I were talking about how there's this one image, this one video with the Amazon, and there's all these huge anacondas. There's hundreds of anacondas. And I'm thinking to myself as a biology teacher, because I used to teach biology, I'm like, that's not sustainable. Like, there's no way that many snakes could be in that environment. Um, and so I looked it up. And even though it had been shared through a news program, it was fake. It was AI created. But then what happened in Bangkok the last week with that huge there it wasn't an earthquake, but it was a sinkhole, and it looked fake. And everyone was like in the comments, it looks fake, that looks fake. I looked it up. I had to do research. Is this real? And it was real. It was terrifying, but it was real. So it's good for the students to be able to, and kids to be able to do their own research, know where to go, know where to look up.
Yeah.
Bias, again,
Did you see
yeah.
on sorry, did you see on the news yesterday about her name is Tilly Norwood?
No.
She's the new AI actress. So she's like actually in a movie, and
Okay.
it is full AI, and it's
Yeah.
kind of upsetting
Mhm.
Hollywood right now. But
Of course it is.
she's a
Of
full
course.
character in a movie.
It's amazing. Well, they have social media influencers that have millions of followers that are AI created people that, like, they look the same in every picture. So I mean, there's a lot of engineering that goes into it on the back end, but right, like, mind blowing. Like, I don't know. It's interesting. In Norway, they're saying that you can copyright your own voice and your image, like your face and stuff, because they're afraid of deep fakes taking away the copyright for your own personhood, which is probably a good idea. Anyways, the bias is, again, humanly inherent, that because humans make the algorithms that make things like ChatGPT work, we need to be aware of that and always question everything. All right, so this is the handout that you will be getting afterwards. Gives you an overview, and these are these key talking points that you can talk to students and your kids about. What's great is that if it's hard to start that conversation, we have these activities here to go along with it. So you're going to go to this link and play this real or fake text game. So you can try to get your kids to see if they can spot fake text. And then the next one is take the test with if this image is created by AI or not, which this one, it's getting tougher. It used to be like a year ago, even a year ago, like the hands would be weird or there'd be little pieces that you're like, there's something not quite right. It's getting scary to be able to tell at this point. It's hard to tell. Emotional engagement. It's a tough read. It is a tough article to read, but it's a really important article to read. So I do suggest reading that. Bias. This YouTube video, and I know we're talking about human bias in general, but like this just explains bias in a really simple way of like saying, hey, everyone, think of a shoe. When you think of the word shoe, what comes to your mind? Most people think of a sneaker, but then there's, pumps, and then there's men's like casual shoes, and then there's all these different shoes. But because the majority of people think sneaker, well, that's a bias because that's what you're used to wearing or whatever. That's a really good YouTube video. It's like not even 5 minutes long. And then this prompting activity, I use a framework when I'm prompting, and I found that it gives me the best output that way. So you can click on this 5S model prompting framework from AI in education. They are also another great leader in the AI literacy space. And give it a try. Like try a prompt without using it first, like what you would normally do, and then go in and try a prompt, asking it to do the same thing, but with the prompt, with the framework. Sorry. I can't talk. I know we're getting up to the 7. It's 7 o'clock. Sorry. We're going to go a little bit over. Feel free to stay if you'd like. And then Common Sense Media is one of the relevant resources, and UNICEF. Just a couple things like ethical use, be honest, always protect your privacy. Don't put your information in there. Try not to put your pictures, or definitely don't put students' pictures in there. And thinking critically. And then head over to checkitlearning.com for all of the information that you are going to need as leaders in the industry. Thank you so much, Peg. All right, back to you for our next poll.
All right, we're going to do another poll. And then in the meantime, please, if you have any questions for Larissa, please add it in the Q&A at the top or right next to the chat. So what do you see as the biggest challenge for successful AI integration in classrooms? So regardless if you're a parent or a teacher, administrator, what do you find is the biggest challenge?
Oh, there's some good answers in here. Now, I put data privacy and security because like you don't know what you don't know. Like,
Yep.
I feel like the deeper I've gotten into this AI literacy and ed tech world, the more I really am understanding the back end of these programs and how much data and privacy really matter. The resistance to change, I've seen a couple of people be like, yeah, resist. And again, I found that to be the way that I usually focus on that resistance to change is, hey, let's just start a conversation about it. Like, what are the things that you're afraid of, and go from there. But training and guidance are definitely needed, very needed. And I'm so lucky that I work at a school that is on the forefront of this.
It's amazing. Any questions? If you do, just pop them into the Q&A. We don't have anything yet.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything in the Q&A, but I could be wrong.
Right. It's okay. The thing is that after this, you'll be receiving that handout. Please feel free to share with others because we feel like this is a very important topic and we want to definitely make an impact in education because we do want to guide the students and be responsible for guiding parents too and teachers. So please share the information with others. We would really appreciate it. It's better to be safe and knowledgeable, right? And we don't want to, like she said, we don't want to ban it because they're using it anyways at home, or they're using it in a place that you may not know they're using it potentially.
Yep.
And there's so many great things that we can do for students with AI. I mean, Larissa gave us some of the examples, but it's definitely going to change education. And I feel like there's so much good that can come out of it. We just need to make sure everyone's well trained.
I agree, Peg. And it's going to be a little bit of a uphill battle, but like we're here for it. We are here for it. Change means that there's going to be some extra work involved. I see a question in the chat.
Yeah.
What is a good use in middle school? So I think it depends on if you're a sixth grader versus an eighth grader too. The eighth graders can do a little bit more with it. I really like using Flexi from ck12.org. That one, it has specific like resources directly in there, honestly from kindergarten through high school, but I've used it a good amount. My son is in sixth grade and my daughter's in eighth grade, and I've used it for both of them. And I feel like that has been really helpful for me to show them how to question it. Like if you're going in and students are just saying, oh, give me this answer, I like that it doesn't just give them the answer. It's like guiding them, well, what do you think? And then guiding them through the process of like a math problem, for example.
Hmm.
So I really like that. There's also uh, in middle school, I like to talk a lot more about algorithms. And I think that discussing what an algorithm is and how it's made, there's some good resources online for that as well. But you can go to Common Sense Media and look at what some of the suggestions are for specifically middle school. I like CurePod, I like the School AI, chatbots. Um, those are more like 13 plus, but there's a lot of great ones.
I just put in the link for the Flexi from
Thank
CK12.
you. Yeah.
And
And
I
this
will
one,
bring up the Common Sense too. You said Common Sense?
Common Sense Media. Yep. And what's nice about Common Sense Media is they give you an idea of the privacy policies behind it, whether or not how safe it is. And what's great about it is you got kids who play video games. You can put the video games in there too, and they'll give you a rating on that for age ranges. And I know that like technically video games are rated, but sometimes they're just not rated as well as you'd like as a parent. Are there any other questions?
All right. Well, thank you for joining us on a Wednesday evening. We really appreciate it. And if you weren't able to join us live, thank you for watching the video when it gets sent to your email. So thank you, Larissa, so much for coming on tonight with us.
Well, thank you.
Boyana, she was also with us she was doing the monitoring behind the scenes. So thank you too for her as well. All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.